Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Johnny Davis Live. Oh my goodness, you know what? It's raining and messy outside. And so I think this is going to be a great day to have a great conversation about a lot of things. And I think if you are kind of like just locked in your house or just kind of shut in your house or whatever, or at your job and you're bored or whatever the case might be, join with me for the next I would say about 45 minutes to an hour, because I'm going to discuss some really serious things here that I feel like that are going on in our sport today. And again, I couldn't pick a better day to do it. So hopefully you'll join in. And if not, I know a lot of you, because we get about 400 to 500 views on this show. So we hope that maybe you'll join back in later and check it out, when you have more time. But for those of you that can join in with us today, we're going to have an interactive conversation about some of the things that are going on in our sport. So one of the subjects I'm going to talk about later on is about our fighters dumb. Boy, I got something on that. I'm really, got a little hot on that one earlier in the week, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We also want to talk about amateur fighters, in particular, amateur Muay Thai kickboxers. Do we need Bloodwork and Eye exams? We want to talk about that a little bit later. Again, we can be interactive. I definitely want to hear your comments and everything about that, because I think we're going about this all wrong. I think a lot of the commissions are going about it all wrong as well, but I'll talk about that. We want to also talk about getting involved with your local athletic commission. Really, really important, guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you need to do that a little bit later on. So we have a lot to talk about today. Again, about the next 45 minutes to an hour, I'm going to take my time, because I know that some of you are busy, you're working, you're doing your thing. But if you can come back a little later and check this out. I had a young lady telling me the other day that on the show that I did with Jeff Grady, that she watched the whole thing from start to finish. She thought it was the most informative probably interview that we've done. So we're going to do more of those with a lot of people across the country and around the world, really. So we know that people like this, and this information is good for a lot of people. Before I get started in our conversation for today, I want to always be thankful to our sponsors, Eastern Offset Printing Company out of Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, to do all of our artwork for us. If you need some artwork, posters, flyers, business cards, or whatever, be sure to give them a call at 252-247-6791. Love Eastern Offset Printing, guys. Also want to give a big shout out to Blackout Gear. Always, those guys are looking out for us. And you know what? I want to say something. This is not about equipment today, but I just want to let you know I was sent some of these Blackout gloves, these 16-ounce gloves. I worked out with them the other day, and I'm going to say this, and this is not for any promotional means. These are the best darn 16-ounce gloves I've ever worn. I mean, they feel great. So, I mean, that's just a real statement. One day I'm going to do a Johnny Davis Live workout, and I'm going to have on these gloves, and I'm going to, talk a little bit about these. I really, 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 really do like these gloves. All right. So anyway, now we're going to get right into it, guys. We have some huge discussions today, about it. I'm going to come back a little later. I'll tell you about all the events. Let me do this now so I can just stay on point. We have a lot of events coming up. Tomorrow in San Diego, the IKEA Point Kickboxing Tournament at the Fit Expo in San Diego, California with Mr. Ryan Hodges. Check that out. This Sunday, October 28th, Mr. Ruben Saldana is doing an IKEA PKB in Orlando, Florida at the Elite Preparatory School. We're going to hopefully be talking to Mr. Ruben really soon. He's a very, very interesting guy. If you look at that interview that's on my website, right? Definitely check that out, right? He's doing some great things for kids. Also, next weekend, November 10th, you can check out Mr. Don Rogers. He's doing an IKEA full contact show at the Kurt Scott Center building in Raleigh, North Carolina. There's also another big double-header IKEA Point Kickboxing and the full contact event going on in Vacaville, North Carolina. Mr. Anthony Quesada and the Hodges are putting on a doubleheader event. That's going to be an incredible collaboration. I have a big show going over there next week, November 10th in Vacaville, California. Also, we just announced our regional tournament coming up for all amateurs. Check that out, December 15th in Sumter, South Carolina. Registration started today at akpromotions.org. Be sure to check that out as well. All juniors is going to be fun. We're doing a point kickboxing tournament that morning as well. Mr. Jerome Robinson is putting that on in a 7,000 square foot facility, guys. Be sure to come and check that out. Register your fighters, all juniors. We're building up the juniors because obviously they're our future. That's going to be an event just for juniors. It's going to be full contact. It's going to count on their record. So definitely check that out. Okay. The calendar for all of the events is akpromotions.org or ikfkickboxing.com or pointmuaythaicalifornia.com. Okay, guys, here we go. I see some of you are itching to get into this, right? So let's get into it. Now, do you think fighters are dumb? That's a sensitive subject for me. I'm going to tell you why. When I was a kid, well, when I was younger, when I was a fighter, a lot of people would introduce me to people and they would always say, hey, this is Johnny Davis. You know, he's a fighter. He's a two-time world champion. And, you know, and it seemed to me that there was a stigma there. That maybe because I was a fighter, that I wasn't so bright, that I wasn't so smart. That bothered me. It got to a point, it bothered me so much that I actually told people, do not introduce me as a fighter and do not introduce me as a world champion, because it changes the whole environment in the room. So I just said, you know what? Just don't do it. And not only that, people assume that you're not smart because you want to fight. No, that's not the case. We fighters are passionate about what we do. And when you're passionate about something, sometimes you overlook a couple things. But before I go into that, I will say this. This past weekend, I was in Georgia and I was at a meeting. And there was a trainer there, and I quote, he said, fighters are dumb and will fight anywhere. That was his quote. I mean, I almost jumped out of my seat. I couldn't take it. I immediately let him know that I was very offended by that comment and that fighters are not dumb. We are passionate about what we do. Sometimes with that passion, we maybe overlook some things, like when we are registering for an event or getting into an event that we don't know all the details and the rules, and perhaps trainers need to look into that a little bit more. But I will tell you, we are a long way from being dumb. Do you know there's fighters out here, trainers, fighters, and I'm both fighter, former trainer, who've changed a lot of people's lives through the wisdom and the different things that we do and that we tell these fighters about how to live better lives. We have a lot of wisdom. We have a lot of knowledge. Do you know that there are fighters out here with master's degrees and PhDs? There are fighters who have written books, who've done, you know, a lot of things, great things in this country, around the world. Fighters are very smart people, right? We're passionate, but we're very smart people and all. And so to think that, you're very wrong. And so the person who made that comment, yes, I'm offended. I'm still offended. I'm still upset by it because I know that we're not dumb. We're very intelligent, very smart people. The only thing I would say again is that sometimes we get over passionate about things and we don't look into details. If we're signing agreements and contracts, and we are signing on to an event perhaps where they don't have everything, you know, we don't ask all the questions because we really just want to fight. We just want to get out there and we want to do our thing. Well, I will tell you that, you know, be smarter about it, right? Start looking into things and making sure that you do the right thing. Yes, Bam, some of the trainers do not do all the things they need to do for their fighters. Again, it's not just fighters. Trainers need to do the right things for their fighters as well. But it's a long way from being dumb, and I resent that comment. And anybody who wants to argue with me on that, they very well can. But dumb is not the thing. Maybe over passionate sometime about what we do, and we really, really want to do that. What I want to ask you out there who are on this video, this interview today, this show today, have you ever felt that type of way about, you know, being introduced? Or have you ever felt like people felt like you were dumb because you were into martial arts or you were a fighter? Ken Hudson says yes. Has anyone else out there ever felt that way? And how did you react, and how did you respond to that? Be interested to hear that today. Again, we're going to do a lot of interactive stuff today, and we got a lot to get through, but we're going to take our time and get through it. Okay? So I would love to hear if you have any comments. Ken, I see you're saying yes. Love to hear what happened to you and who made you, or how that made you feel, and how you handled that. Because, you know, certainly I know that it's more than me that feels that way. Again, we're very, very intelligent people. Now, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Bloodwork and eye exams. I'm going to use the term right off, over-regulation. Do you think amateur fighters, in particular Muay Thai and kickboxing, need blood work and eye exams to compete? Okay? I want to know if you think that we actually need that. Okay, so I'm going to dig into this a little bit, and I'm going to take my time. So again, if you don't have time to stay on the show, I understand, check it out later. I'm going to dig into this. This is what I believe. Okay, about some time ago, you know, when MMA came on the scene, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on. There were, you know, people fighting and trying to get it better regulated. And I think that in that, at the same time, not only did MMA come on the scene, but we, a lot of us kickboxing promoters and stuff, we kind of sat back and we let things happen. We didn't do anything. We let our sport die. Yes, we let our sport die. MMA took over. So with all these regulations, what happened was that they kind of bundled us into a bunch of MMA regulations. Follow me on this. Follow me for a minute. Did you know when MMA first came out that you could only fight pro? Now, I know I was in California at the time. I know that's the case in California, but I think it was the case across the country that you could only fight pro. So I want you to think, follow me here for a minute. If you can only fight pro and you can have these people sitting in here making these rules and you're not saying anything, then they make those laws and those regulations and you're bundled in. So now they're going to affect you and everything that you do. You see? Kind of see how this starts happening? So all those years when we were just not doing anything, our sport was bundled into MMA rules and professional fighting rules. And this is why amateur fighting, or amateur Muay Thai, amateur kickboxing, and things like that, right? That is why we are, you know, all intertwined. No, bam, they don't. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. So we have gotten all bundled in with the professional rules. That's why we can't get anything done. That's why it's hard for us to have events in some of these states that over-regulate, because they don't understand Muay Thai and kickboxing. And so therefore, when they set those rules, they're not thinking about you as an amateur and the things that you actually do. Okay? So remember this, really important. MMA, when it came on the scene, I mean, they were beating and bludgeoning. I mean, it was brutal. So they went in and had to regulate that. That's not us, though. We don't fight on the ground, right? If somebody starts bleeding real bad and they can't stop the bleeding, we stop the fight for the most part. So that is a situation where I think we, because we were just sitting back and not being active, which I will get into a little bit later, that we really, really hurt our sport. So here's the question about blood work. Give me one scenario, just one, and I pose this to doctors all the time who are in the sport. Give me one scenario where a fighter has contracted a disease from blood while in a competition. And no one can tell me when that's happened in this country. And as a result of that, it's an overreach. It's overkill. Because if we're fighting almost every weekend, we're fighting all over everywhere. And with thousands and thousands of fights, and where there's blood, and nobody has contracted anything, I mean, I'm talking about pros or amateurs. That's proven. Why do we have amateurs paying for blood work when we're not catching any disease from it? It's overreach. Now, if you want to go into the pros where they're less gear and they're just beating each other to a bludgeon, they're getting paid. If you want to do that, that's fine. But for amateurs, it's an overreach. And I have more on that. This is one of the things that we have to get these commissions to be able to understand because it's over-regulated. The next thing is eye exams. So I think you would almost have to be completely blind to not be able to see a punch or a kick coming at you. If you have some kind of cognitive issue and you walk in or you got on bifocals about 3 inches thick and I think you might need an eye exam, okay? But what are the reasons why you would need an eye exam to compete in an amateur kickboxing or a Muay Thai match? That's overreach. So again, though, they're not thinking about us as a sport. They're thinking about us all bundled in MMA. And this is where we need to separate that. We need to separate that so that these commissions can better understand exactly who we are and what we're doing. You're right, Jeff. We do not need blood work. We do not need eye exams. Here's another bigger point. USA Boxing. USA Boxing, one of the largest organization for amateur boxing in the country, and I think it's federally funded, whatever the case is. No blood work, no eye exams, and you know what? Too, it's another subject. They don't even have ambulances at their events, not required. So, I mean, are we going to be fair here? Are we just going to treat us like red-headed stepchildren? That's just somebody used to say that, I mean, how can we let one organization who's doing the actual same thing, right? For amateurs, Anthony, I was told by someone one of the top people, that the blood work and eye exams were not a requirement for amateurs. So, Anthony, I need to make sure that you're speaking correctly there. Because when you start talking about EKGs, we do EKGs for people over the age of 40 years old. So if you are correct, let's just take this. If you're correct, Anthony, that they're asking for blood work, eye exams, and EKGs, you're telling me who's paying for that? Because it costs like $100, $90 to $100 for eye exams and blood work. Who's paying for that? Is it funded where the government's paying for that for USA Boxing? Because my understanding by a very, very reliable source that they were not required. So Anthony Herrera, if you are saying that that is the case, please, and I can't see it right now, so I'll check on a little bit later on what your comments are, but because I can't see all of your comments. But my understanding is that that is not a requirement by a very, very reliable source. So why is it a requirement for amateurs? Okay, I have a bigger question. We have amateur kickboxing, Muay Thai tournaments across the country in states that do not require blood work and eye exams. All of you guys who participate in tournaments, a lot of you who are on this show right now, if you were doing a tournament in a state that mandated blood work and eye exams that cost $100 a piece, that's an additional $200 along with registration and whatever else you needed, would you compete in that tournament? Would you? It would kill our sport. Boom, dead. Now that's some people who probably want it killed. But I am telling you right now, blood work and eye exams are just simply not something that amateur Muay Thai and kickboxers need. We take full exams. Yes, full exams. But to pay an additional fee or fees for blood work and eye exams is overkill at the level. And this is why we have states like in North Carolina where they require that. I know a promoter over there. It kills them trying to match up a fight because it's all of that extra money. Again, who's going to pay that? So I need everybody to take a look closer at what is going on here and what has happened over the years. Let me give a shout out to our South Carolina Commission, Mr. Will McCullough over there. He allows us to do events here. They keep a close eye on everything that we do, though. You know, we do, you know, all the full exams, the ambulance, doctors, you know, they trust me to do the right thing. And trust me, I do with our events. And I'm appreciative of that for South Carolina. But some of these states are over-regulating our sport and it's impeding our sport. So the other thing is this. What some of these states do not understand is that if you allowed us to come to your state or to your city or state in this case, do you know it would have a tremendous economic impact on your bottom line? Do you know, since I've been back, I do 2 tournaments in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the Spring Classic and the East Coast Classic in the fall. And the economic impact is around $200,000 to that area with all the room nights and gas and food, the F&B that we do. Your area is missing out on some good funds to your state because you're over-regulating a sport that has tens of thousands of fighters, tens of thousands of mamas, daddies, brothers, and sisters who would come to your city and to your state to participate in a safe event with officials and judges and everything that you need and doctors and ambulances. But to ask for extra money for these eye exams and this blood work is an overkill. You tell me a state that has mandatory eye exams and blood work for amateurs. I will show you a state that has a very small amount of activity when it comes to Muay Thai and kickboxing. So we have to do something about this. And I'm going to tell you what we need to do in just a moment. So overregulation, huge problem. What can we do about it? If you guys have any suggestions, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think. Now, okay, Ken, thanks for signing in. I appreciate it. Here's what my suggestions are. You got to get involved. I was at a meeting this past week. We had a person in there who really don't know a lot about Muay Thai and kickboxing. He's in a totally different sport, MMA. And he was in there trying to implement blood work and eye exams because for whatever reason, he's doing those things, but he does pros. Does not understand Muay Thai and kickboxing, that we are a stand-up sport, that there's not nowhere near as much blood, and there's no cause for it, no reason for it anyway. We're letting people like that sit in these meetings and dictate our sport, and they know nothing about it, and they don't care whether or not you ever compete. They don't care about our passion and the love that we have for this sport. We have to care. We are the ones, us trainers, us people who call ourselves officials and judges and referees, people who are trainers. This is where we need to be smart. What we need to do, guys, we need to take a moment to get involved with our state commissions. You have to do this. This is my call for action for you guys and for everyone under the sound of my voice or who is looking at this show right now. Get involved. There are important decisions that are being made about our sport, and because you guys are too darn busy doing other things, too busy training maybe, or whatever, you are letting these rules kill our sport. That meeting this weekend was an eye-opener for me. Do you understand that these people who are making these rules, again, don't understand, and they're all chummed up with these commissioners? these congressmen, these senators, and they're playing the good old boy game on you. And they're changing laws that's going to impede our sport for years and years to come. Do you understand that? Do you understand that the reason that we're in this situation today is because you have been inactive, because you are not going to those meetings, because you are not talking to your senators, talking to your congresspeople, and getting involved with those local commissions, those committees who are making decisions about our sport, people. So please, I'm asking you to please get involved. You know, me and some others out there are working really hard to try to change these things. But you can't do it. It takes a village. It's going to take all of us to make this thing happen and make it so much easier for our sport. But as long as we sit back and we do nothing, and we let other people who don't care about our sport speak on our behalf, define us. There's a word in Swahili. It's called kujichagulia. It means defined oneself, self-determination. It means self-determination, defining yourself. We, as a sport of Muay Thai and kickboxing, we need to define ourselves. Yes. We need to define ourselves. We need to be able to go in and make suggestions about what we want for our sport. Not let people who don't know about our sport, make these suggestions and lead these politicians. Yes, those people on those committees, those senators, they don't know anything about the sport. They're politicians. And they depend on who they call experts, people who are in the sport, to help educate them on what the sport is all about. And if you are not there, those who think they are knowledgeable, if you are not there giving your opinion, your suggestions, your ideas about what direction we need to go in the sport of Muay Thai and kickboxing, who do you think is doing it? Who do you think is leading them and dictating their direction? The people who are in the meetings. The people who are calling them and chumming up to them and voting for them even, maybe, and let them know that. If you got to be there in order to make these changes. So don't let other people define us, people who do not care about our sport. You know, the other day I went and I voted. And, you know, and I see a commonality here. And I'm not getting into politics. But a lot of people see things that are going on and they complain, they whine, they complain, they whine, they complain, they whine. And then when it's time to vote, they're too busy to go vote. That's the same scenario that we have right now. That you're too busy to go and to those commission meetings. You're too busy to call your congressman or your senator. You're too busy to get more involved with the people who are defining the sport. And as a result of that, this sport was not going to rise. It's going to keep going down into a dungeon of despair. I am fighting, along with some others, hard to try to keep our sport alive. But I tell you, I was discouraged this weekend watching that good old boy and that people in there who are asking me questions about our sport. And you can see by the way they were asking the questions that they really just do not understand Muay Thai and kickboxing. If we sit back and we allow this in our state, and I don't care what state, the great thing about Facebook, you can watch this from all over the world. And so wherever state you're in, whatever country you're in, whatever province you're in, wherever you are, you have to get to those commission meetings. Find out when those meetings are, and you go there and you speak about this sport. You know, you got to change things. You got to get involved to make it happen. You know, there's a saying I used to say all the time about if you see something that needs to be changed, if you see something that needs to be different, don't stand on the outside and criticize get on the inside and improvise and make a change. And I'm asking everyone again who are watching this show, who are involved with Muay Thai and kickboxing across this region and across this country, to help us get some of these laws that are impeding our sport changed. If you want more fights in your area, more Muay Thai kickboxing in your area, you're going to have to get involved with your local commission. You're going to have to. If you don't do that, our sport will not be here 5-10 years from now. And that is a fact. So stop whining about what's going on. Get involved. And I'm not going to take up any more of your time today, but I do want to thank you guys for coming on with me, and I hope you like some of the things that I had to say. I'll be interested in reading some of your comments a little bit later, and I will reply to some of them as well. In the meantime, guys, like I said, we have a lot of stuff going on across the country with our events. akpromotions.org, ikfkickboxing.com, and MuayThaiCalifornia.com. There's a lot of websites that we have there. Check them out. We have our youth tournament that's coming up as well, guys. December 15th here in Sumter, South Carolina is going to be a lot of fun. Got some great news, too, about some new contenders we have coming up for our Spring Classic. We're going to be doing it big, guys, over in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, March 15th and 16th at the Crown Reef Conference Center, our IKF Spring Eastern Classic. Again, we have some new United States contenders that's going to be stepping up. We'll be announcing that real soon. But, we have, like I said, a cold day. It's kind of chilly, so we have a little bit more time to do some of this today. Again, I want to thank Blackout Fight Gear for their sponsorships and Eastern Offset Printing. And again, I want to thank you guys for definitely joining us today. And again, I'm going to definitely check out some of the comments. I see some of you have come on. I will be checking those out. But again, the bottom line is, guys, get involved with your local commissions. Look into that eye exam thing and the blood work, because again, it's not needed. It's an overreach for amateurs. And remember, guys, the only thing that will be dumb about us as fighters and trainers if we don't get involved. And my final question to you, if not you, then who? Guys, thanks so much for joining me today. This has been Johnny Davis Live. Be sure to follow us at AK Promotions on Facebook, also on YouTube at Johnny Davis Live. Once again, forward march. This is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out. Thanks so much.